I'm Linda Fox. I'm in the Phocuswire studio and I'm with Simone Lini, and he is co-founder and CEO of ZeroLook. Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So you have recently, you started with Navifair and you've now pivoted and renamed to ZeroLook. So summarize for us what's gone on there.
That's right. So we started with Navifair with the idea of making sure that a user got the best possible price for a flight. The idea being that today, if you go to Google Flights or Kayak, you get a good price, but you're not sure if it's the best. Mm-hmm. So we started this auction system where we would have a user tell us, I found this flight, Lufthansa 374 from Frankfurt to New York, mm-hmm. and the price was $500. Find us a better price. So we would then first look everywhere on the internet using scrapers and agents to find better prices, and then we'll give an opportunity to our partners to beat the price and to give us a lower one. And it kind of worked out quite well when it came to finding better prices. We actually found a better price the majority of the time, and we had 100,000 users in the first week. But there were two issues. One issue was, it's really hard to find a user that found a flight, but then hasn't booked it yet.
Yes, because if you find a really good price flight, you're going to book it.
That's right.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so then what do you do? Like, what's the process? You're thinking we need to pivot, we're going in the wrong direction. Tell me about the thinking.
I think you have to be very excited about what you're building. If you're not, then you're just preparing for failure. Mm-hmm. And at some point we realized that we didn't see a great way to actually solve the problem. But we did find another issue that is actually more and more important in industry. Actually, on Phocuswire, I read quite a few articles about it, that is look to book.
Yeah.
And so, talking with partners, we actually kept hearing that. And at the same time, we thought, you know what, for Navifair, we actually would have loved to build a search experience, but look to book is an issue. If you think about an example that is, let's say, I'm from Milan. So let's say that I want to find flights from Milan to Greek islands in June. Mm-hmm. Then that's 3 airports in Milan. It's about 30 airports in Greece with commercial service. And you have 24 one-week windows in June, mm-hmm. which sums up to about 2,100 queries that you have to make for just this question.
Okay.
And so already today, look to book is an issue on meta search. If you are connected to Skyscanner and Kayak and Google Flights as an OTA or an airline, you get hit by many queries, mm-hmm. and only a few of them translate into clicks and bookings. But with agents, this gets way worse.
Yeah.
Yes.
The GDS are talking about it a lot already. They're saying, okay, we're seeing it ramp up with NDC, and now we're kind of concerned about what's going to happen with AI. So how does what you're developing mitigate that? So
we're making a bet that is, well, up to today, the way you calculate a price has been pretty much the same. There are some exceptions, of course. Things are changing, continuous pricing, but the core of what happened in industry for the last 60 years has been that you have all these fares. They're being filed in 26 buckets.
Yep.
And all of this is what in computer science is defined as NP hard. Mm-hmm. It's a really complex problem to calculate, which means that it's also very expensive. And so the bet we're making is that we're going to compute the prices in a different way. We're going to train a model that is learning from previous behavior of prices, but also it's sampling real time a few prices every day.
Okay.
And by doing that, we get to calculate a price, to estimate a price for all the flights that is not quite precise to the cent, mm-hmm. but it's in a range that is acceptable.
Okay.
And by doing that, we can decrease the cost of computation by orders of magnitude, which means that we have something that can allow airlines and travel agencies to showcase their content everywhere, on agents, on meta search, anywhere where look to book is an issue.
Mm-hmm. And so then let's say that the price is attractive, as you say, good enough, and they click through, the differential is not going to be that big where they go, this is a scam, or I'm disappointed, or whatever, and then go off searching again.
There are different ways to structure that, but what we actually agreed with our initial partners that we will launch with is slightly different. So we will actually have them guarantee the price. So what we're trying to estimate is not the price that should be on Meta.
Okay.
It's the cost that, for example, a travel agency would incur to purchase a flight from the airline.
Okay.
And then they can apply any logic they want. They can apply markup if they don't trust the price too much. They can apply a discount if they want to. And it's up to them. But in the end, there is no implication on price accuracy.
Okay.
By the way, at some point, we'd love to be the ones that guarantee the price to the airline or to the travel agency.
Okay, so then if they do guarantee that price, again, I can see a sort of consumer trust, if I'm understanding right, issue where they have added a markup because it's the cost of that flight, and the consumer will go, well, actually, that's expensive here, and so won't click through. Is that not a potential issue?
So if we think about it in the context of, let's say, a travel agency, today the travel agency is actually not responding to many queries they get from meta search, and to almost no queries they get from agents. So what we're doing is that we are adding a possibility for them to answer those queries.
Yeah, you're defining that query. You're making it a better quality query.
We're allowing them to answer queries otherwise they would not answer, which means that, yes, if you're not accurate enough, then it might be that the price is a bit higher than it could have been, which means that the OTA is going to be less competitive.
Yeah, okay.
But still, that's full incremental revenue. And in the end, for the user, whenever you go to Skyscanner or to Kayak, that's the whole point of my first startup, of the pre-pivot one, right? That you're never sure you get the best price. So we don't think that it's going to make it worse, but actually it's going to allow travel agencies and airlines to answer questions that otherwise they would not have answered.
Right, and there'd be better quality, more qualified. Okay, got it. Generally, you started with Navifair, you pivot to ZeroLook. What's the landscape out there for travel startups right now? Knowing what you know about the industry, about the geopolitical landscape, what's it like out there as a startup?
There's so much excitement about the potential of AI, but also I think it's very important to reflect about the implications of AI. And the first question that one should probably ask themselves when they start a company is, what's going to be done by the big hyperscalers, by Anthropic, by OpenAI, by Google, and what's actually going to be left for someone to innovate on? And so, in my opinion, now there is a very interesting opportunity to address the implication of the shift of the search from the website to the agent.
Yeah.
I see a world where in a few years there will be no website where you go to, but actually everything is going to happen on the agent. So instead of clicking out to the travel agency or to the meta search or wherever to find options and do the booking, I see a world where this happens on ChatGPT, on Gemini, on Claude. And so I'm seeing, I think that the most interesting startups are the ones that address the implication of this.
Yeah, but it must be quite hard as a startup to, predict where those LLMs might be going and what's going to happen, because it is happening so quickly. And it seems that every time they issue a new statement or a new development, that, there goes another bunch of startups. So how do you, keep an eye on the market and keep ahead of those trends?
In my opinion, it's about understanding the incentives and capabilities of those players.
Right.
For example, those models have been trained on static data. So if you want to create an inspirational AI company, that's really tough. Because if I go to ChatGPT and ask questions about what is the best way to spend a weekend in Portofino, I'll get actually pretty good answers. But whenever you go to places where the answer cannot be derived from past training, but has to be dynamic and real time, that is, in my opinion, where the opportunity lies.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm biased because that's what I'm doing with my company. But in my opinion, it is very unlikely that those companies, and by the way, there is an exception, Google, but we can come back to it.
We will come back to Google, yeah.
But it's very unlikely that those companies will spend the effort to understand the way that hotels or flights are priced.
Yeah, because why reinvent the wheel, right? You need to just pick that up and run with it and then build on it.
The engineers are going to build AGI, so there is no time to actually understand the 26 fare buckets for flights.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. A similar question, I guess, moats with AI, because you create something and you see AI develop something alongside, and you think, okay, well, that's no longer a moat, so that people are saying, well, opinion is divided whether OTAs still have a moat, independent hotels, where do you think the moats with AI might be in the industry?
In my opinion, it's all about what you learn from the data that users are, from your users, basically. So the idea is that if you are having something that is valuable and users are using that, and you can derive something useful about the way that people are using it, then you have something that can be defended.
Yeah.
If I have people that are asking me prices, and then I predict those prices, and then I double check them, because at some point my customers will tell me if the price is right or wrong, then I can use that to create a moat.
Yep.
If I have a travel planning startup, and then I'm learning from the questions that are being asked, and I'm better than anyone else at figuring out, okay, perfect, those questions mean that actually the model should do this. We should answer A instead of B. That is something that can actually be defended. For the rest, having a moat is going to be very hard. And by the way, we should take for granted that if a big company wants to do that, of course, it's always a mess. The question has always been the same, by the way. Now I keep hearing, what if ChatGPT adds that? When I started for my first startup in 2013, the question was, what if Google does it? And the answer is always that it's really tough, but there are some areas where you can innovate, and they're not likely to do that. And there are some areas where you can build a moat if you're smart with data. Okay,
good. Now, one of the things I've seen, various comments from you on LinkedIn and various discussions, and you talk a lot about meta search becoming the middle layer. And I guess that you've got the background with Google Flights, and I think your co-founder has got kayak experience. Is that right? So just talk to us about why you think the meta search. And I extend that also to, because the GDS are making a lot of noise about becoming the middle layer. So why do you think that, who wins, how do they win, and why, kind of thing?
I think the big issue is that everyone is going to become the middle layer. Meta search, GDS, but also OTAs. So first of all, I will start from the idea that I don't believe that any hyperscaler will ever be an OTA. That's a question I kept hearing when I was at Google, and the answer has always been, it's very likely that some of those companies will go through the trouble of addressing customer support, changing tickets, etc. Why would they do that when there is so much more to do that is closer to the core competencies? So the rest is actually very likely going to be up for grabs, which means that the idea of the user starting a search from Gemini, from ChatGPT, from Claude is going to become very common. And if it does, then why would you send the user out to another website to see those queries when actually you can give them a great overview, a great response directly on your chatbot? And at the point, what happens is that you still can get results from anywhere, but those results won't translate quite often in a click out. This means that all the UI things that have been created, all the amazing apps, the web app, the filtering in the results, everything that's been done on the UI is going to be abstracted away. If you invested in creating this great result page for flights, well, it's very likely that this is going to happen inside of the chatbot.
Okay. Isn't the idea, or isn't what we're being sold, the idea of personalization and not having 20 results, but having maybe 2 or 3? How does that work in this AI world?
I'm very skeptical about it.
Okay.
On the leisure side.
Okay.
In the corporate world, it's another story, but on the leisure side, it's very hard to derive the best option for me based on my previous choices.
Sure.
I travel a lot, but
extensively.
The average user would travel maybe 3 or 4 times per year. So some of these trips are going to be for family, some of these trips are going to be for corporate events. It's very hard to know
what the use of the trip is. Yeah. Interesting. There was a trial done by one of the OTAs on the corporate side a few years back, and they tried to present them with 2 or 3 results instead of many results, and they hands down said no. We want to see the choice. We want to see all the options. So even for business travel, potentially, us as business travel consumers may still want that breadth and depth of choice, but we will see. So from your perspective, meta search and GDS could still have a really strong role going forward.
I believe they would have a strong role, but there is also a threat, because if I'm not actually, as a user, going to Kayak or Skyscanner to see the results, but I'm staying on the chatbot, what is my experience of the brand? What is my connection to the brand? I'm connected to Claude, to Gemini, to ChatGPT, but not that much to the meta search. So at this point, the risk, not just for the meta search, but also for the OTA, is that you are just providing content.
Yes.
Is it good enough? Maybe.
Depends how much money you're making from it, I suppose.
That's right.
Yeah. And then also, who owns because you did mention fulfillment there. Does brand come back into play, and the OTAs are speaking about it, when it comes to the fulfillment and the ticketing, and if something goes wrong? Is that when the brand comes back into play? Because Expedia Group CEO talks about that a lot, that it's got to come back down to trust that we provide. Is that where there's an opportunity, do you think?
I think so. I think that fulfillment will still be left to the OTAs or to the direct suppliers. And so they will take this part. And of course, at a point, the trust is, do I trust this company to deliver the service that I booked and to then help me if things go wrong?
Okay. You worked at Google, you worked at Google Flights, you mentioned Google Things to Do earlier. So just talk to us about what experience of working in those big environments has brought to you now, and you know, creating startups and developing startups.
So my 5 years at Google were amazing, and I learned quite a lot. And I think that the most interesting things probably, well, I would say the most relevant to what I'm doing now, I learned from the people that were at IT Software. I think that being a part of Google Flights for a short time was amazing, because you got to see actually what could have happened.
Okay.
If IT Software would have been
right. There was a lot of talk about that becoming the de facto flight booking engine for Europe. That was the no, sorry, the other way around, for the US, right? But what would happen in Europe? That was the talk at the time. I just remember headlines about ITA, Google in the US, but potential discussions between Google and Amadeus for something similar. I just remember all those strands at the time.
That's right. They had an amazing product, and people in the industry were very jealous of that product at the time.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it could actually be the new travel giant. And they also were working on a PSS that got cancelled. I believe that Air Canada was supposed to be a customer.
Okay.
And it got cancelled after the financial crisis in 2008. And in the end, they were integrating to Google. And they actually serve today as the backend for Google in many ways.
Yes, yeah.
But the B2B potential has not been, in my opinion, fully fulfilled.
Yeah.
Or actually, there are still many customers, but it's not growing as much as it could have if someone was motivated by, let's say, as if they would be an independent company. It's making Google Flights a great product, but I think that there is still so much potential for innovation in flight search, and that's what's been inspiring me in creating ZeroLook.
And is it easy to come out of a big organization like Google and take those lessons and what could have been, and then start working as a smaller team and developing that way? Is that easier?
It's so hard.
Yeah. I can't imagine there's anything easy about it, but I was just thinking maybe there's some lessons learned that you can apply. I don't know.
It's my second company, and the first company I studied just after university, and it was way harder because, of course, at the time I had way less knowledge and credibility.
Right.
And now, of course, given what I learned from Google and from lastminute.com, that is way easier. But at the same time, it's incredible how things change as soon as you leave a big company. When you're at Google, then you can get any meeting that you want. You can get attention from anyone very easily.
Yeah.
Now, actually, you have to struggle for everything. You hear so many no's. But I think that's what makes it so exciting.
Well, that's part of the startup journey, isn't it?
I miss it so much, yes.
Yeah. Great. Simone, thank you. Great to talk to you.
Thank you so much.